Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 best-selling disc molds of 2024 at my shop. And so recently, I think a couple weeks ago, I published a video talking about my top 10 best-selling discs. A few of you guys were wondering why certain discs didn't make the list. For example, people were saying they were surprised that the Zone or the Envy or Wraiths didn't make the list. And I came to the conclusion that these discs didn't make my list because a lot of people like them in different plastics, and therefore the numbers are more widespread. So I figured I would combine all the plastics together. So for example, for MVP, I combined proton, neutron, electron, plasma plastic. For each individual mold, tallied them all up and then made my true top 10 list. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I like to start this list off with a couple honorable mentions. These discs just barely missed the top 10, but since I sold so many of them, I figured I should give them the recognition they deserve. And first is the Castoplast Berg. And so I carry the Berg in multiple plastics. I carry it in the K1, which is their premium plastic, K3, their baseline plastic, K1 soft, and then I even carried some mini Huck Lab Bergs, which all were very popular and definitely one of the more controversial discs on the market since it has one glide. This is the Berg I use. I don't use it very often, but it's very useful in certain situations, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same about it for those of you that enjoy throwing Bergs. But that was honorable mention number one. Number two is more recent, and it is the MVP Trail. The Trail just barely beat out the Berg, and MVP has come out with two different trails, and basically they're the same but just with different stamps. It's come out with the regular Neutron Trail, and then they also came out with the special edition James Conrad, I'm not sure if it's a Team Series trail, but that came out as well. And since then, I've sold a ton of them. It's basically taken the disc golf market by storm. Nearly every day I'm at work, people text me or ask me or come into the shop and are wondering if I have any trails or when I'm gonna restock them if I'm out of stock. So I just restocked them, and they're almost sold out again. If you want to check out a trail, make sure you check out my website. But that is, the trail just barely missed out of making it into the top 10, and I'm sure by next year that when I make a video for 2025, it'll probably be well within the top 10. But without further ado, let's get started with the disc that actually made the top 10. And we'll get started with the MVP Glitch. I figured this would be a no-brainer that this disc would make it into my top 10. I'm actually surprised that it's a little bit lower on this list, but it also makes sense because I've only ever stocked two different plastics of the Glitch, because they don't make that many, obviously. One is the Neutron Soft Glitch, which everybody knows, and then I also stocked the OTB Open Proton Soft Glitch. Just based on those two molds, or those two discs alone, I've sold so many of each. It makes the top 10. I'm sure if I combine the Glitch, Pitch, and Parachute, although they're different molds, I'm sure it'd be way higher on this list. I would say it's a disc that players of all skill levels enjoy, no matter if you're a beginner or a pro. And funny enough, I don't only sell these to disc golfers, but I do get the occasional person that wants an Ultimate Frisbee disc just to play at the beach or play at the park with their buddies. So I always recommend getting a Glitch, Pitch, or Parachute because it'll be the disc that will have the most familiar feel, most familiar flight, and they can still play catch with their buddies. And also, bonus, if they wanted to ever get into disc golf, they have a disc golf disc. But that is disc number 10 on my list. At disc number 9 is the Axiom Pyro. I would say this is one of the more popular mid-ranges, and if not one of the most popular mid-range, overstable mid-ranges on the market. And it's for good reason. Every time somebody asks me for an overstable mid-range, this is definitely one of my recommendations. It's stable, but it's not overstable enough to be a utility disc to where you're kind of just using it to finish left. I can manipulate this disc to put it on a little bit of anhyzer and it'll pan out very slowly and it won't dump back, it'll just slowly fade back. And this disc will never turn over on you in the wind. Since it doesn't dump and doesn't fade that hard, you can get a good amount of distance on it. I stock them in this plastic, which is the one I carry, the Prism Proton plastic. I stock them in the Prism Neutron plastic, and also the Eagle McMahon Halloween edition Fission Pyros, which I've never thrown before, but I have those as well. Since I stock them in a good handful of plastics, and since I recommend it so often, I would say that this makes sense that is number 9 on my list. Moving on to number 8, we're finally going to get a different manufacturer, and it is the Discraft Buzz. This is the one I bag personally, and everyone knows why the Buzz is on this list. It is one of the most popular mid-ranges of all time, and it is the disc that most beginners get recommended online. I stock the Buzz obviously due to its popularity in many plastics, so I stock it in the ESP plastic, the Big Z plastic, Z-Line plastic, titanium swirl plastic, titanium plastic, Z-Flex Jawbreaker plastic, I think one other plastic type, but that's 6. And just because of its popularity and the amount of plastics I have it in at my store, it is bound to be in the top 10, and it makes sense that it's number 8 on this list. I thought it'd be a little bit higher, but it's number 8. Getting into disc number 7 on this list, we have the Discraft Zone. So a lot of people were surprised that this disc actually didn't make the top 10 on my other video. Sorry, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but here it is in this list. And it makes sense. It is arguably the most popular overstable approach disc on the market. I have it similar to the Buzz in a bunch of different plastics: titanium swirl, Z-Line, ESP, Z-Flex Jawbreaker, and the list goes on. Most people I know in the area that throw overstable approach discs use a Zone, and this is one of, if not the most popular Discraft mold on the market. But yeah, makes sense that it's in the top 10. That is disc number 7 on my list. Moving into disc number 6, we have the Axiom Crave. And so the Crave, ever since I started the store, I feel like it's consistently been one of the best-selling discs that I've sold. Whenever someone wants a flippier, a straight to slightly understable fairway driver, or I have a beginner / intermediate that's looking to finally start throwing higher speeds, I recommend the Crave if they have the arm speed for it. It is a disc that I know many people use. They put it on a little bit of hyzer, flips up, goes straight forever. There is not much to hate about this disc. It's kind of similar to a trail, just slower speed. Similar to other MVP discs I have in my store and Axiom discs, I carry this in a lot of different plastics: Fission, Neutron, Proton, Cosmic Neutron, and I believe that's it. Oh, and Eclipse plastic as well. Now, getting into the top 5, we have another new manufacturer that cracks the top 10, and it is the Innova Destroyer. This is obviously one of the most popular distance drivers of all time. I don't really have to explain much about it. I carry it in various plastics, so I believe I carry it in Pro plastic, Star, Halo Star, and Champion plastic. I might carry it actually in another plastic as well, and I'm just forgetting. I bag one. It makes sense that it's in the top 5, and I don't think I need to explain too much about it. I've sold quite a few of these just because of how popular it is. Moving on into the top 4, and now I would say that these next 4 discs I'm going to be talking about, especially the top 2, are leagues ahead of these other discs. Since I've started my shop 8 months ago in Santa Cruz, California, right when I opened up shop, a lot of people bought a lot of these discs, and it's been consistent up until today. So without further ado, let's just get started into the top 4. And with number 4 on this list, we have the Axiom Proxy. This disc, extremely popularized by Simon Lizotte. He throws these dead straight. It feels like it gets very little turn and very little fade, and basically just lands straight, kind of like you're putting a disc straight on the rope towards the basket, or at least he does. And so it makes it very enticing for people to want a disc to fly like that, so a lot of Proxies were sold since then. And I carry them in a lot of different plastics in my store. I carry them in Electron, Electron Soft, Electron Firm, Neutron Soft Proxies, Neutron, and Eclipse, and I believe I also carry them in Plasma as well. So a lot of different plastic types. I think a lot of people enjoy trying different plastics. There's not one that really rules them all. I personally like throwing the Neutron Soft Proxies just because they're a little bit more stable. I know my buddy likes throwing the Electron Firm because it's a little bit more flippy. A little bit of everything for everyone to enjoy, and it makes sense that the Proxy is the 4th best-selling disc at my store. Moving on to top 3, we're going really similar here. It is the Axiom Envy. Very similar disc to the Proxy, just a little bit more stable. And I believe that the only reason that this disc is one spot higher than the Proxy is because when I opened up my shop 8 months ago, there was the Rebirth Eagle McMahon Team Series Envies that came out. I bought a bunch of them, sold out of them really quickly, and so that kind of boosted the numbers of these Envies up. Besides that, I would just say that the Envy has been super popular. There's nothing really more to talk about it. I carry it in a bunch of different plastics, similar to the Proxy. I carry it in Fission, Plasma, Prism, Plasma, Proton, Neutron, Neutron Soft, Electron, the list goes on. So it makes sense that the Envy is in my top 3. I would say maybe without those Rebirth Envies, it would be closer, and I think the Proxy would edge it out just a little bit. But it is number 3 on my list. And now getting into disc number 2 of my top 10 best-selling discs, we have the Axiom Hex. This is also extremely popularized by Simon Lizotte on his YouTube videos. Very similar flight to the Proxy, where you can kind of just throw it straight, get a little bit of turn, a little bit of fade, but really just put it on a rope towards the basket. Obviously at my shop, it's a little bit more popular than the Buzz, just because it gets a little bit more glide and a little bit more distance. So I think people are really drawn to that. And for players with slightly slower arm speed, it will go a little bit straighter. I would say essentially Simon Lizotte, though, is carrying the Hex and Proxy to be extremely popular. And due to that, I carry it in a lot of plastics. Yeah, I probably carried it in actually 8 plastics at least. Neutron, Proton, Eclipse, the list goes on. It's very similar to the Proxy and Envy, but carried in a lot of plastics, and it makes sense that it's extremely popular. I don't think I need to talk much more about it, but on a side note, the new Hexes kind of have some dome to it. Not sure if you guys can notice that in this video, but definitely a little bit domier comparative to the other Hexes I have in my shop. And I'd be curious for you guys to comment down below if you ever tried a domey Hex or a domey like Crave or anything, because it seems like a lot of the discs have been becoming way more domey. Let me know if you guys have seen this, noticed this, and if you have, what they fly like. But I'm trying not to get sidetracked here, but that was disc number 2. And getting to the number 1 best-selling disc at my shop, it comes at no surprise to me, but it is the Axiom Pixel. Funny enough, similar to when I opened up my shop, I talked about how the Rebirth Envies for Eagle McMahon came out. Also at the same time, we had the release of the Pixel. And that was equal, if not greater release than the Rebirth Envies. And I bought a lot of them. And I remember the first time I vended, I basically sold out of all of them. And ever since then, I've been restocking and selling out. And it's funny to me because I believe this is the only true putting putter on this list. I know people probably putt with the Envies and Proxies, but I feel like it's not as big as people that putt with Pixels or comparative to other manufacturers, like, I don't know, like a Challenger from Discraft or an Aviar from Innova. So it's sort of surprising to me that this has become so popular, but obviously behind Simon Lizotte, it's a no-brainer that this disc is as popular as it is. And recently they made the premium plastic Eclipse Pixels, so that's only helped it out even more. That is my top 10 list of my best-selling discs since I opened up shop. Let me know if you guys found anything surprising, or was it everything that you expected? Was there a disc that you were thinking would be on here that didn't end up making it, make sure you comment anything down below. Besides that, I really appreciate you guys watching this content. Ever since I started my YouTube channel, I've gained a lot of support from you guys, and I couldn't appreciate it much more. That about does it for the video. I just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you guys could like and subscribe, check out my online disc golf store at www.disczone.com. That would be a bonus, but that about does it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.